everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the Gut Honest Truth. This is a big one. I mean, gut health really is essential. I was doing some research today and looking at how big of a problem this is, and actually 40% of the world population, not just America, struggles with some type of gut or GI issue. Isn't that crazy? 40%. And the spending on gut health related issues is expected to double this year over last year, because more and more people are becoming aware that their health problems are actually associated with their gut, and they're looking for a solution, right? Unfortunately, a lot of the solution leads you to a doctor and a diagnosis and more questions and no answers. We're here today to provide those answers for you. A natural, drug-free solution. How does that sound? Absolutely, because your gut is related to so many different things. And what it shows also is that women tend to be more affected than men with GI and gut-related issues. And that now children are starting to express these early on in childhood, and it's creating more and more problems as they're developing into adulthood. So the earlier we can start working on this, the better, right? This isn't just for the people who are struggling with major gastrointestinal issues or major digestive problems. It's for everybody. Because you may not notice the symptoms now, or you may recognize them and not know where they're coming from. It's important to pay attention to those signals so that way you can start working towards getting to the cause of the problem and actually help your body heal itself the way that it was designed. And that's really our mission here, right? My wife and I, Dr. Catherine, these are our two children. We've had the pleasure of working with thousands, even tens of thousands of patients over the last 10 years and guiding them through this health journey, helping them find these natural solutions, empowering them to take control of their health, right? Rather than being told that something's wrong with them, or it's their genetics, or there is no solution, or you just got to take pills for the rest of your life. But actually giving you the tools and the resources where you can be the hero of your health journey, where you can actually take action on those things and see the changes happening in your life. And that's why I'm so glad you're here today. That's why I still teach these classes and share everything that we do, because I believe everybody deserves the opportunity to live a better and healthier life. Don't you?
Yes.
Well, you guys, I'm proud of you because you're action takers. You're here. You showed up, right? That's the hardest part. 90% is showing up. And the key to getting results is taking what you learn here today and taking action on that information. Because information itself doesn't do anything. It's the action that you take with what you learn here today, and you keep learning over time, that's going to get you the results that you want. So I encourage you to take what you learn here and do what's necessary. Make the lifestyle changes. Get the resources. Implement the habits. So that way you can see those benefits in your life. And keep doing it, right? Don't do it for a couple of days or a week or a month and then give up if it's not going well. Keep working towards getting better, because health is a journey. It doesn't end. It's something that changes and updates and expands over time. And the more you continue to invest in yourself, the more progress that you're going to make. And this becomes how you take care of your family. One of the greatest things I love about what we do is that we get to raise our kids in this type of environment where they actually understand what health is, how to take care of themselves, and they teach their kids that, and it goes on down the line, right? We want to change that for future generations, because everything you read shows that health is going down, worse and worse, starting with those younger generations. So that's the place to really start. And this has been something that's been around for a long time. One of the early medical-minded people, Hippocrates, says all diseases begin in the gut. Even when they knew very little about it. They didn't have microscopes, they couldn't see what's going on, they didn't have gut health tests or metabolic tests, right? They just knew that this was an issue. And when you look at just some of the things that are affected by your gut and how common and prevalent these are in our modern society, you will see how big of an issue these are. And these are just the major things like autoimmune disorders, cognitive disorders, cancer, chronic joint pain, things like fibromyalgia, allergies, infertility, pregnancy problems, learning disability, mood disorders. These are just some of the things that are a result of a damaged gut system. Things that are healable and that can change. And that's the coolest part. And the thing I love sharing is that your body is designed to be healthy, right? That's the most important premise that you can understand. And when you get that and you realize that the things you're experiencing, the diagnoses, the pain, the discomfort, the health problems, these are not normal. This is not the way your body was designed. And there is a way to be able to get out of that by doing health better. And that's what we're here to do, to guide you in that process, provide you with the tools and the resources and the action steps and how to do it so that way you can get the results that you're looking for. That's pretty cool, right? Your body can heal itself naturally. Your body can heal itself naturally. But what do you hear many times when you go to the doctor? You can't heal. You're stuck with this, right? It's your genetics, it's your destiny, it's your family history. This won't go away. This is going to be for the rest of your life. The only thing you can do at best is manage it, right? Manage the symptoms. Because there's two different ways to look at your health. The medical model that we live in now is what's called the allopathic model. So the allopathic model looks at your body as a bunch of individual parts. That's why there's a doctor for everything. There's a foot doctor, and there's an orthopedic doctor, and there's a brain doctor, and a stomach doctor, and there's an endocrine doctor, and there's a prenatal doctor, and there's a postnatal doctor, and there's a men's health doctor, and a women's. Like, there's so many doctors out there, and each one of them is looking at a different area. Well, it's actually your heart. Well, it's your stomach. Well, it's your lower intestine. It's actually your gallbladder. It's your pancreas. It's your liver. We're looking at all these different pieces, and we're trying to treat the individual parts, right? And going by, well, what's the diagnosis, and how do we do the opposite of that? You got too much bacteria, let's kill it. You don't have enough, let's put it in there. Your blood pressure's too high, let's make it lower. It's too low, let's make it higher, right? It's always the opposite effect, right? And that's all done through drugs, shots, and surgeries. That's the allopathic model. Now, who here wants to be taking more medications? Raise your hand. Nobody. Who loves going to the hospital, getting some type of medical procedure? Does anybody love doing that? That didn't seem that great, right? I don't like that either, right? So I'm glad we're all on the same page here. We're like-minded thinkers. But a lot of people still think this is the solution because that's what they're told. That's what they've been taught their entire life. That's what they get when they go to their doctor. That's what's on your insurance plan. That's what's on the billboard on the highway. That's what's at Kaiser and Sutter and everywhere else that you go, because that's the model. It's the allopathic model. It's what we've been doing for about the last 80 to 100 years here in America and other parts of the world now. Now there's another way, and this is what we've been doing since the beginning of time, was more of the vitalistic model. This is what people like Hippocrates and other people practiced even back in the day, and a lot of people still practice now, but is considered alternative. So vitalism looks at your body as a whole. Rather than try to treat the individual parts, how do we improve the entire system? Rather than trying to treat the effects or symptoms or manage a condition, well, let's look at why it's happening. Instead of treating the disease, we strengthen your body so it can better handle and fight off the disease on its own. This is the vitalistic model. This is the model of holistic healing. This is the model of your body's equipped to heal itself. This is inside-out type thinking rather than outside-in thinking. And that's what we focus on here with chiropractic and holistic medicine, is the vitalistic model. And when you look at how these things are working, this is the result of the allopathic model, which we've been doing here in America for quite some time now. And the new research that just came out says the average time to start health decline is what age do you think? Let's throw out some guess. One. Not quite that early.
25.
25, that's pretty close. It's actually 27. 27. So physiologically, your athletic performance prime is 26. So 26 is like, if you did everything right, the maximum, like where you're going to be at your absolute best. Doesn't mean we can't go past that, but that's physiological. And so 27, you're already declining and going down, right? See, that's not normal. Every 27-year-old shouldn't be declining with health problems. There's obviously something wrong there. And a lot of that is our day-to-day habits, our lifestyle, but it's also what we do to take care of those issues and how we deal with the effects that determines what your health is going to look like. And that's really what we want to change, is how you view and manage your health this time moving forward. 133 million Americans. Now there's like 350 million people, right? So it's like a third of the population has some type of chronic illness or disease, right? That's not normal. So that's the key, is how do we start changing this? And the most important aspect is to look for a cause and actually look at where health and healing comes from. As we said at the beginning, your body's designed to function and regulate itself. Digestion, immune system, heart, lungs, blood pressure, respiration. That's all regulated through your autonomic nervous system. That's your brain, your spinal cord, and the nerves that actually pass through your spine and then go to all the different cells, tissues, organs in your body. This is what regulates normal function. Every single thing happens here first. Now your body has to adapt to life around you. That's also what the nervous system does. We have all these sensory organs, eyes, ears, nose, what you can touch, and feel, right? This is sending information to your brain about what's going on around you. What's the temperature? What can you see? What can you hear? What can you taste? And it tells your brain how to adapt to that information. And those signals are sent back and forth all throughout the day, constantly adapting. It's the only way I can stand here right now. It's the only way you can listen to me right now. The only way that you can balance and stand up and move is all just information interpreted from your brain. So pretty important system, right? Absolutely. Chiropractic, the foundation of chiropractic is the brain and nervous system. That's what we're focusing on. It's not your back, it's not your spine. That's just another effect. One of the effects of what's called subluxation, when you have interference or damage to your nervous system, well, sometimes that can be pain, but it's also, over time, becomes health problems. Because if your brain isn't receiving the signals that it needs from your body, how is it going to function well? And if your body's not receiving the signals it needs from the brain, how's it going to do its job? And you don't always notice this at first. In fact, you only notice about 10% of what goes on. And you have to lose a significant amount of that function before the symptom, the effect actually shows up. So symptoms are actually the late stage effect of a bigger problem over time. Does that make sense? The symptom isn't the first thing. That's what we first experience, like, oh, I woke up and my neck hurts today, or my digestion's not quite right, or all of a sudden I'm tired all the time, or I'm sick, or something's out of balance. That usually didn't just happen unless there was a major trauma, right? If you fell off the roof and you broke your leg, well, obviously that's a big deal, so you're going to feel a lot of the effects of that. But if your knee just starts to hurt over time for no specific reason, well, that didn't happen that day. That's the result of months, years, maybe decades of damage of things being out of balance, and finally your body's under more stress than it can handle, and you're feeling the effect. So when you look at the spine, there's actually 24 individual segments from your neck all the way down to your tailbone, and every single level regulates a different part of your body and your nervous system. Isn't that cool? That's why I love chiropractic. In fact, that's the thing that got me into chiropractic initially, was this. It wasn't that it helped my back pain. It wasn't that it helped with my breathing. It wasn't that it helped with my immune system. It was the principle that the brain and nervous system is connected through the spine, and it affects the health and function of the rest of your body. Like, isn't that cool? If we can get your body to function at its optimal potential, the possibilities are limitless. Because your nervous system is always operating at 100%, nothing less. And your potential is always 100%. What determines how healthy you are is how much interference there is along the way. How are those messages being communicated to the rest of the body? And if that's happening free of interference, your body's doing a lot of what it needs to do. Now we just need to stop recreating the problems with the other essentials, so you're not having to continue to deal with it. And that's what we're going to talk about when we go through how to maximize your gut health. And your gut health, your GI system, is actually really big. It starts in your mouth, and it goes all the way out to the other end. But there's many things that are happening along the way, and there's multiple organs that are involved in this. It's your stomach, it's your pancreas, it's your gallbladder, it's your small intestine, your large intestine, your colon. All these things are involved in the digestive process, and they all serve a specific purpose. And for your body to be functioning normally, all of those things need to be doing their job without excess stress or interference. You're not made with any extra parts, right? We can't take out your gallbladder, or we can't take out your appendix, or we can't take out part of your intestines and expect everything to work well, right? You need all those things to function optimally. And so we're going to focus on the different parts and the 5 key areas that are causing breakdown in your digestive system, your kids' digestive system, your family, your friends, the people you know and care about, and the natural solution to start improving that. Sound good? Outstanding. Well, let's talk about some more cool things about your gut and digestive system. One of the coolest things is that your gut is directly connected to your brain, just like every other organ system. And your digestive system doesn't just break down food, it actually also produces certain chemicals and hormones. One of the most important is what's called a neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitters are things like dopamine, serotonin that affect your mood and your sleep and your energy. And the gut itself produces over 90% of the body's serotonin. Serotonin is the feel-good hormone. That's why when people have gut problems, they don't feel that great. It can cause depression, it can cause brain fog, moodiness, difficult with sleep, right? You think you have some type of brain issue or a mood disorder that can be treated with the medication, but it's really just a gut problem. Because if your gut's not working properly, it's not producing the vitamins and the nutrients and the chemicals and hormones that you need, so other parts of your body start noticing dysfunction too. This is a problem with the allopathic model, because now we're trying to balance out your brain chemistry and your digestive system and joint pain and everything else and treating it all with something different, likely seeing 4 or 5 different doctors. Versus the vitalistic model, well, we're just going to work on improving your system completely, all the way around. Because then everything starts to work better in the harmonious balance it was designed to, and then the problems resolve themselves, because that's what's normal, because that's what's healthy. Your gut also regulates a big portion of your immune system. You have this giant system of gut bacteria. In fact, you have more bacteria in your body than you do have cells in your body. That's how much is in there. And you have over 4,000 square feet of material that goes throughout your entire digestive system. So it's really big. And there's a lot of information happening there. And these little microbiome, they actually communicate with themselves, and they're connected to your brain and other systems of your body. So when your gut's out of balance, you also get sick more often. You also develop more chronic illnesses, right? You create other imbalances in your body. So taking care of your gut health is a great way to improve your immune function, where you actually get sick less often. But again, in the allopathic model, when we're trying to treat the problem, a lot of the treatments for immune issues actually damage your gut more, creating a worse problem. Something as simple as an antibiotic. An antibiotic goes in and kills your gut bacteria, weakening your immune system and creating a whole display of other problems. It may help you with the acute infection temporarily, but it's creating a much bigger problem. And if we're constantly doing this, you're actually weakening your body's ability to fight off infection and disease. And that's not a way to get healthier or stronger. So there's 3 key areas of your GI system. So the first part of digestion is how your organs break down food. So this happens and starts in your mouth when you chew, and then it goes down into your stomach and it gets broken down further there, and then it goes into the lower portions, and that's where the next section happens, absorption. So absorption happens down here. So absorption is when you actually break down into the individual particles of food, different vitamins and minerals and nutrients, and that's where your body actually absorbs a lot of that. And that's what goes to your cells and tissues and organs. It provides the fuel and everything else that we need. And the last part is elimination. So everything you take in isn't used by the body, so some of it needs to be excreted as elimination. This is how our body gets rid of waste. And as long as this is always happening, everything goes well. We take in the information that we need, your body processes and breaks it down to usable material, your body absorbs all the nutrients that it needs, and whatever it isn't needed just gets put out as waste. And this system's always happening. And in a healthy body, it does everything that it needs to do. Now these 5 pillars of GI distress are what interfere with that process, and this is what we want to focus on today, so you know what to do and how to overcome these issues. So number 1 is maldigestion. Maldigestion is a problem with your primary digestion. That's the first part, where we're breaking things down. This is how you break down the individual energy sources, which are fat, proteins, and carbohydrates. These are all broken down starting in your mouth. So when you chew, you have something called salivary amylase. This actually breaks down carbohydrates specifically and actually starts that digestive process. That's why how you eat is really important. And then as it goes from your mouth and goes into your stomach, and that's when we start breaking down a lot of the proteins, where you have the hydrochloric acid and those stomach acid. And your body's so cool that you have this special lining of your stomach that is able to deal with acid. If you took stomach acid and you put it on your skin, it would burn you. So what do you think heartburn is? Too much stomach acid, burning the other areas where it's not supposed to go, right? That's not a good thing. And there's a reason why your stomach acid is too high, because your primary digestion isn't working properly. So problems like indigestion, heartburn, esophagus issues, Barrett's esophagus, GERD, all these things, that's a primary digestive problem. If you're getting a lot of bloating after eating or you don't feel good, well, that's a primary digestion problem. You're not breaking these things down properly, and this is a very common issue that leads to nutritional deficiencies. Because now if we're putting down undigested food into the lower areas, that's a big problem. If your pancreas isn't working right and it's not producing the right amount of insulin, or your gallbladder isn't working right, it's not breaking down the fats properly, we're sending down this undigested food which your body can't deal with. So that creates a lot of stress and inflammation and bloating and all kinds of other problems. And these are the things that your body needs that have to come from food. Calcium, vitamin D, iron, B12, folate, magnesium, right? These are in our diet all the time, But if you're not able to break these things down, you're not actually absorbing the nutrients. So you could be eating a ton of broccoli, but your body doesn't break it down, so it doesn't get used. And it actually just causes problems versus the benefits that it's supposed to. And that's frustrating, right? Like, I'm eating all the right stuff. Has anybody ever been there? I'm doing the right things, but it's not working, or I'm still having the problem, and that's frustrating. There's a reason why. One of the most important things you can do is really focus on eating real food. Unfortunately, we live in a society of just quick, food over the counter, food through a window, right? Quick as possible, frozen foods, canned foods, boxed foods. This is not real food. It's not. It's processed food. And so when you process food, you'll lose a lot of the things that you need, digestive enzymes, certain types of minerals and nutrients. It's not there in those processed foods. Food's not meant to sit on the shelf for 2 years and be consumed. It's meant to sit on the shelf for a couple of days, and the nutrients are its most rich. So if you can eat real food, if you can go to farmers market, if you can try to eat seasonally, right? An avocado that comes off a tree in California today is different than one that comes off a tree in Guatemala 2 weeks ago. The nutrient value is totally different. It may look the same, it may even taste the same, but the nutrient value is different. And thankfully we live in a place where we have a lot of good food, right? It's not hard to get quality fresh food in California, thankfully, as long as you eat through the season. So you don't eat the same diet 12 months out of the year. It kind of varies because certain times of the year, certain things are better. Like this time of the year is more ripe for a lot of different fruits and certain types of vegetables that get a lot of sun. So now's the time to really eat a bunch of those. In the fall, you're going to get more of, your squashes and pumpkin and these other things because that's what people are having. And then in the winters, like when a lot of other like wheats and other things start to grow. So it's just different cycles of the year. And if you can start to do that and eat more real food, you're going to take care of a lot of the issues that you have going on. You should also have a plan for what you eat. Not necessarily a diet, or there's so many fad diets out there. Everybody's seen those, right? The paleo diet and the keto diet and the FODMAP diet and the blood type diet and the Atkins diet. And there's just like so many. And not that they don't work. I mean, I think they all have some benefit. Otherwise, they wouldn't be around. But you're not supposed to go from diet to diet to diet to diet. Because how do those things go? You do it for a little while, it sort of falls off, you plateau, then you do nothing for a little while, then you pick up a new one, and that goes for a little bit, and you're kind of just juggling them all around. And none of them are meant to be doing long term. But you can have a digestive or nutrition plan that you can do throughout your life. Something like the core plan, where you're just eating a lot of healthy fats, quality proteins, a nice mix of vegetables and fruits on a consistent basis. If you're going to eat grains, we get them from a whole grain source, a sprouted grain, an ancient grain that it's easier for your body to digest. More plant-based carbohydrates versus like simple carbohydrates like a chip or something like that, pasta, right? Again, this is processed food versus if you were to eat like cauliflower or broccoli or any of these other things. These are more natural foods, right? So this is something that's sustainable that you can do all year long. This is what I do most of the time and works for a large majority of people. There's the advanced plan, which is a little more advanced because typically it's when we have imbalances, blood sugar imbalances, gut health problems, hormone imbalances, and we need to restrict a few things, mostly sugar, mostly carbohydrates, because those put more stress on the system if the system's not working well. So now we're actually getting a lot more fats, less grains, and a lot less sugar. So you're restricting some of the healthy things like fruits, but it's only temporary. Again, you don't live on the advanced plan unless you have a major health concern. And there are people who need nutrition modifications along the way, but that's specific. I'm not going to say there's one overarching program like, hey, this is good for everybody and everyone's going to benefit from it. Different people need different things because we all have different needs, different problems, different lifestyles, right? So to say there's just one blanket plan that works good for everybody, that just isn't true. So the easiest thing you can do is take some of these basic principles and apply them. One of the biggest ones that I see with most people is they don't eat enough quality fat. Fat still kind of got a bad rap, but fat's bad for you, fat makes you fat, fat creates heart disease, fat causes this, but that's really not true. It's the damaged fats that cause that. It's the fats that are said to be healthy for you, the non-fat stuff like corn oil and vegetable oil and canola oil and sunflower oil and safflower oil. These are the damaged fats that actually make you sick because they're totally processed and completely unhealthy for your body. But things that are natural like olive oil, avocado oil, grapeseed oil, these things are really healthy for you. If you squeeze an avocado, you're going to get a little bit of oil out of it, right? If you squeeze like a piece of wheat, you're not going to get anything from that. Nothing's going to come out, right? If you squeeze a piece of cotton, you're not going to get oil. And it goes through a major chemical industrial process to get oil from these unnatural sources. That's why they're so bad for you. These are hydrogenated oils. These are toxic oils. But fats do all kinds of stuff. Look at all these cool things. Regulates hormones, builds your cells. It's what makes up your brain and neural tissue. It gives you energy. It lowers inflammation. It actually improves your metabolism. It protects your organs. Fat is really good for you. So we want to get a lot of healthy fats in your diet on a regular basis. Another key thing is to chew your food. Sometimes we're just eating so quick. We're in a hurry and I got 5 minutes. I got to wolf down this food real quick, right? You're not allowing that digestive process to happen. It also happens if you're like watching TV or you're distracted or sometimes having conversations. You're just chewing down that food and you're not really fully chewing it. So you're missing that initial breakdown process. Many of you who have a primary digestive issue could just start chewing your food a little slower and notice that your digestion is better. And the key thing with this is don't take a bite of food until you've completely chewed and swallowed the other bite. That's a key thing. Like if you could just think about that and be a little bit more focused. When's the last time you sat there and you were eating a good meal and there's like really appreciate, like, man, this is so good. Like I'm so grateful I got this, beautiful, colorful salad here, this nice, delicious, juicy steak. Like I'm so grateful I get to eat this right now and like feel the flavors and the juices and all the stuff. Right? Like as quick as possible because you got something else to do, or you're doing something else, or you're doing it in the car on the way to work because you're late. Right? These kind of things is interfering with your digestive function, and it's going to create problems. Now, every once in a while, you got to do that. You just got to do what you got to do. But overall, eating should be better, and you'll also find that you eat less food. You don't get that bloated feeling because you ate too much. You're going to feel more satiated over time, and your body will tell you a lot of what you actually need. Because you should never be too hungry or too full, right? You kind of want to always be somewhere in the middle. That keeps you in balance. Now, there's also things that help. And the reason why we have supplements is because a lot of times our body gets so far out of balance that it needs some extra help. Max GI is one of the things that really helps support this primary digestive process because it actually contains digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes are what help break down and emulsify your food. If your body's not producing them because of a digestive problem, or you're eating too much processed food, or you're cooking all your food completely, you're going to miss out on a lot of the digestive enzymes. Therefore, it's harder to break down the food, and you're sending a lot of undigested food down to the part of your body that's going to struggle with it. So by doing digestive enzymes, it actually helps break those things down. Especially if you have any problem like you don't have a gallbladder, or you had your appendix removed, or some other kind of procedure that took out pieces of your body that aren't there, you absolutely need something like this because your body's not going to be equipped to do it on its own. One of the other cool things about Max GI here is that it has essential oils, which kills off bad bacteria and things that aren't supposed to be there, which we'll go over in just a little bit. Because there's a lot of things that can get into your body that also cause problems. Right? There's good bacteria, but there's bad bacteria too. You can be exposed to parasites. You can be exposed to other things. And part of what Max GI does is it kills off those things naturally with lysosomes and with essential oils. And it has some probiotics in it, so we're starting to repopulate some of the good things that are supposed to be there. So this is a really helpful supplement that you take before you eat. So if you are having a problem, you get indigestion, you get a lot of bloating, certain foods give you a lot of problems, definitely do the Max GI because it's going to help incorporate that. And it can benefit everybody because our food is, face it, we eat a lot of processed foods. Even in a healthier diet, you still come across these things. So it could benefit even a healthy person to use every once in a while to just make sure things are in balance. Another key one is going to be the Daily Essentials. I really like the Daily Essentials because it has everything that you need as far as like minerals and building blocks. All the deficiencies we talked about that are common, like vitamin D3, that's in there. Like B vitamins, that's in there. Magnesium, that's in there, right? All these things are in there. That's why it's called the Daily Essentials. If you take just this one pack of nutrients every day, which is about $3 for one of those, less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, you're actually getting all the nutrients that your body needs in a form that's already bioavailable because we use only natural supplements. It's not a fake synthetic supplement. It's natural supplements that your body can use already. So you're getting those things in. Great thing to take with lunch or dinner to make sure you're getting all the nutrient density that you need for that day. So that way you have everything that's in there. It also has omega-3 fatty acids in there, which is part of the essential fats that you need to reduce inflammation and part of the fats that help make up other areas. Now, if you're someone who has ever had like gastric bypass or doesn't have a gallbladder or doesn't have one of these other areas, you absolutely need this because you're not breaking those things down, or you can't consume enough of the food you need to actually allow the nutrients to come in there. So if that's you or someone you know, this is definitely something you want to recommend for them. I do this every single day, continuously. It's part of my routine. It's just so easy to do. When I go on vacation, I grab a handful of them, I put them in my bag. If I'm traveling, it's easy to do for the day. You're not taking 6 bottles with you. It's all just in one pack. So this is one of the easiest things to make sure you're getting the nutrient density that your body needs. So the number 2 issue is inflammation. Now we've all felt inflammation before. You eat something and you're in pain, right? But you might have also had, you eat a certain thing and now your knee hurts, or your nose runs, or your shoulder or that bad wrist hurts, right? That's inflammation. Now inflammation in the gut can actually pour over into other parts of your body too. So it's common to have gut inflammation that causes headaches or joint pain or inflammation of other tissues or organs, sometimes swelling in your body. You get that bloating feeling, right? Bloating is inflammation. It's actually swelling in your gut and digestive system. That's not good. And then there's the inflammatory bowel problems, right? Ulcerative colitis, things like that. These are inflammatory gut issues. That's not good because chronic inflammation leads to health problems, things like heart disease and cancers and other major issues. That's why those things were listed as gut problems in the future. You also get a lot of food allergies. Anybody ever had food allergies before? Those are no fun, right? You eat a certain type of food and you don't feel good at all. That's inflammation, right? Histamines are created, and that's not supposed to happen. Food allergies are not normal. They're common, but they're not normal. And there's a way to be able to get around that too. So one of the most common issues that causes what's called leaky gut. Now, if you said leaky gut 10, 15 years ago, nobody would know what you're talking about, like, huh? But now it's a lot more common. More people are aware of it because they're realizing, hey, there's a bigger issue at play here. Leaky gut is when that huge digestive system, which is supposed to be what's called impermeable, which means nothing goes in and nothing goes out, gets holes, tears, rips, damage to it. Now an impermeable system becomes permeable. And so things like toxins and bad bacterias and stresses and these other things are now getting into your bloodstream that aren't supposed to. And your body doesn't like that. So your body goes and attacks those things. And sometimes it thinks it's a different type of a cell. Sometimes it thinks it's a neural cell or a pancreas cell or maybe a liver cell. These are autoimmune disorders, when your body starts attacking itself because it thinks it's doing the right thing. And it's doing that because things are getting into your bloodstream that normally wouldn't because of these holes in your gut. This is a big problem. Here's just some of the issues that come along with a leaky gut issue. Inflammatory bowel disease. If you've ever experienced this, some days you have diarrhea, some days you have constipation, some days you have bloating and pain, some days you have indigestion. You don't know what's going on, and you don't know what to expect. It could be a very uncertain type of an issue. Autoimmune disorders, we already discussed that, but allergies, asthma, we talked about how mood is affected by your gut. When this starts getting out of balance, you can have anxiety, you can have depression. This is a big problem with a lot of kids who have ADHD, focus problems, and we clear up their gut and they start getting them adjusted, all that stuff goes away. It's amazing. Just total change, new kid. Because we fixed the gut, we got their nervous system healthy, they started doing the right stuff. We showed the parents what was causing it and how to avoid it. Totally different life, right? All because we focused on cause and solution. Psoriasis, almost every skin problem can be linked back to the gut because that's toxins trying to get out of your body that aren't supposed to be there. And a lot of times that happens with the skin. Eczema, psoriasis, rosacea. These are all skin issues related to toxicity and gut problems. Chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, that's a frustrating one. We don't know what's going on. You're just in pain all the time. You got all these issues. Let's just call it fibromyalgia. But we don't know what to do about it. So you just got to deal with it. That's no fun. Let's get to some of the causes of that inflammation. Neural problem, gut problem. That's what causes fibromyalgia right there. So here's the top 5 things that cause leaky gut issues. And they're around us all the time. That's why it's so common. Sugar. If you look at the ingredients of almost any processed food, what's in there? Sugar. Some form of sugar. Some kind of ose is in there as sugar. The other problem is the things that take the place of sugar are worse. Worse. Things like aspartame, sucralose, all these things, it's worse than sugar. So it's like, oh, I'm going to do sugar-free or no sugar. Well, now you're putting a chemical additive that causes just as much or more gut distress than sugar does. So if you want to get in sugar, get the natural stuff. Honey, right? That's a more natural type of sugar, right? That comes from bees, right? It's still sugar, but it's way better for you. And if you're going to do some of the more processed ones, one of the better is like stevia. That comes from an herb. That's a plant, right? That's not causing any damage to your body. So there are alternatives to being able to do that, but the key is we're not getting added sugar, high fructose corn syrup, any type of sugar. Those are all horrible for your gut. So is the damaged fats we talked about. So if you're getting in there and you look at a product or you're cooking with vegetable oil, hydrogenated oils, canola oil, those are all damaged fats. They're wreaking havoc on your gut. You got to get rid of those immediately. Corn oil, all the ones that say like heart healthy and no fat, and those are the worst. Those are the absolute worst. Oil should be fat. If you have any oil that has no fat, throw it away immediately. It's horrible for you. Only all fat oils, coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil. These are the best ones to cook with, use as dressings, use them all the time. Refined carbohydrates. This is going to be your refined processed carbs. Pastas, chips, grains, Wonder Bread. These are all refined carbohydrates. Horrible for you because your body cannot break them down. Glyphosate. Does anybody know what glyphosate is? Glyphosate is what they use in genetically modified foods. Glyphosate is a pesticide. Yes. So a company called Monsanto created glyphosate and said, hey, we have the solution to world hunger and world problems. We're going to make these crops that are pesticide resistant. And so we can grow them anywhere, in any condition, spray them forever, and they're going to be just fine. And everyone's like, great idea. And then they realized that glyphosate is horribly poisonous to your body. Causes neural damage, causes cancer, causes major gut issues, but they still use it. So it's very common. And a huge portion of our common processed foods like wheats and grains, almost all is genetically modified. What they feed cows and pigs and chickens, it's all grains, it's all genetically modified. GMOs is everywhere. All soy products, I'm not going to eat meat, so I'm just going to eat soy instead. It's all GMO, all genetically modified, and they're all full of glyphosate. So you're getting this glyphosate all the time, constantly. If you eat any kind of genetically modified foods, you're getting glyphosate. And this is the worst thing for your gut. It just tears these holes in that digestive lining. There's a way to repair this process we'll talk about, but you got to avoid it because you don't want to keep recreating the problem. And we already talked about the artificial sweeteners, which was the common solution to this top one and is just as bad or worse. So let's get these 5 out of your diet, which means you got to look at the ingredients list. Look at the back of everything that you eat. Don't just read that says natural or healthy or whatever on the front. Look at the back. Look at the ingredients because that doesn't lie. They have to put what's in it on there. And if it doesn't say USDA organic or non-GMO, assume that it's full of herbicides and pesticides and glyphosate and everything else because it probably is. So here's the top 5 gut healing foods. This is where you want to take some cool notes. We already talked about some of these. Fats, there it is again. It's good for you. We want it. We want to get a lot of it in all sources because fat actually is what makes up part of your gut lining. So that's why healthy fats are so good for you. It helps with your digestion. It's easy for your body to break down. It gives you really good energy, much more than sugar. It's good for your brain and nervous system. Lots of benefits. We also want to get probiotic-rich foods. And we're going to cover this a little bit more when we talk about the microbiome. But this is going to be like your sauerkrauts and your kimchis, yogurts, fermented foods, things that used to be widely popular, but that aren't so much anymore, have been ruined and turned into something that isn't that great, right? Key lime pie, Yoplait yogurt is not kefir, right? Totally different. So we got to start changing it. It's like, oh, dang. You mean that's not good for me? The commercial's lying? Yeah. A lot of the stuff you've been told is lies, right? It's untrue, unfortunately. So you got to understand the real information behind it to make a more informed decision. Bone broth. Bone broth is amazing. You guys maybe remember like your grandma would make you soup when you were sick or whatever. That was bone broth. It wasn't Campbell's soup. It wasn't like some watery nonsense. It was bone broth, right? They would actually take the chicken carcass or the beef bones or whatever, boil them down, and they'd create bone broth. Because bone broth is amazing for you. It has collagen, it has lots of fat, it has things that actually rebuild your gut lining. And part of that is collagen. That's why we recommend bone broth. That's why I use a bone broth protein that we have here almost every single day. because it improves your gut lining. It gives you the building blocks of connective tissue, which is like joints and tendons and ligaments. Like, how many people have joint problems? It's because we don't eat those things, right? We just eat the protein, the meat part. We eat the steak, but we don't eat the bone and we don't eat the ligaments. But that used to be common in most cultures. They would make soups and broths and these other things, and we don't have a lot of that anymore. We just take the meat part only, which is just the muscle. We need the other tissues as well, which comes from bone broth and these other types of things. So that's why it's important to get those in. And maybe not everybody does that still, but there's ways to get it in even if you're not doing it. Antioxidant-rich berries. So antioxidant are the colorful things. So the real colorful stuff, the fruits and the vegetables, that's antioxidants. It's the antioxidants that give it that cool, bright color. The orange and the purple and the pink and the red and blue. That's all antioxidants, right? And they have what's called an ORAC score. So if you ever want to look that up, ORAC, it'll tell you which ones have the highest levels. And the antioxidants, they protect your cells from all this other damaged stuff that's trying to get in there. So the antioxidants are little soldiers that sit around your cells to protect bad things from coming in. So you want to have a lot of them. You want to have an antioxidant-rich diet. And then ginger. So ginger has been used for as long as I know that I could research to help with soothing of the digestive system. Because it's a natural soothing. It comes from a root. You can drink it. You can eat it. Like when you go to restaurants a lot of times, they have little pieces of ginger right there. It's to help with the digestion process. It actually helps with the digestion, calms down your stomach. It's very anti-inflammatory. If you look at most natural anti-inflammatory supplements, they have ginger in them. Right? They have boswellia, which comes from pineapple. They have curcumin, which is also very colorful. That's another root. These things are naturally anti-inflammatory. These are in supplements like the Joint Health and the Curcumin Plus. Right? They're in there to help get the nutrients that your body naturally can use, so you're not using ibuprofen, right? Ibuprofen is the opposite. It can help reduce inflammation, but now it's damaging your stomach. Now it's damaging your gut lining and creating more problems, which leads to more inflammation and more pain and quicker breakdown of your joints, and that's no good. So there's 3 steps to healing your gut. If you feel like, yeah, a lot of that sounds like me, I probably have a gut problem. I don't always eat organic foods. I eat pretty conventional meat products and dairies. Well, you likely have a leaky gut issue. It's almost a guarantee to some degree. You may be feeling some of the effects now. You may be feeling significant effects. So there's 3 steps. Number 1 is we got to recondition the gut, which is your microbiome, and that's the good, healthy bacteria. This is done mostly through probiotics and probiotic-rich foods. Number 2 is reinforcing that. So once you've reimplanted it, you gotta build it up and you gotta crowd out the bad stuff. And the 3rd step is to go and repair the gut lining that's been damaged, right? When you do these 3 steps, you can change that. The first step is probiotics. Now everyone here has probably heard of probiotics, maybe taken a probiotic, but they're not all created equal. I can tell you that. Most probiotics that you get conventionally never make it where they need to, which is your lower gut. They die off along the way. They get digested, they get hot. We work with a specific company called Microbiome Labs, which is gut specialists. They work with practitioners only. And what these products do, the spore biotic comes in a different form. A spore biotic is a protected probiotic that goes all the way down to your lower gut where it needs to, and then it opens up and proliferates, which means it starts to repopulate that. This is amazing. This is the only 100% spore-based product that is clinically proven to reduce leaky gut problems 60% in just 30 days. Yes. You could have been working on these things for months or years that can improve in just 30 days by doing something simple like this. Isn't that cool? And that's just the first step. So that's month 1. Let's start to recondition by putting in the right type of probiotics that have a huge diversity. That's another thing. Most products are just like 1 or 2 probiotics. And your body doesn't need 1 or 2. There's actually 32 different types of probiotics that you need, bacteria. And you're not going to get that in just 1 or 2. A lot of times people have really high in a couple of the ones that are common and low everything else. And that's not balance. So this probiotic helps create better balance. And so you're actually doing this each month for the 90 days. You do it the first month only. The second month, you continue to do it because this is like planting seeds. We're planting the garden. The garden just got ran over. The weed killer killed it all, right? It's just dead and patchy and yellow. It's not just going to grow back on its own, right? You can't just throw water on dead grass and it poof, comes right back. you got to replant the seeds, right? This is replanting the seeds. So we're going in, we're replanting the seeds. That's what the probiotics do. And the second step is the reinforcement. This is a prebiotic. So prebiotic foods, these are things like artichokes and licorice and other things that you probably don't need a whole lot of. These are very high prebiotic foods. These prebiotic foods are like fertilizers. So now we planted the seeds and we're fertilizing the seeds. So now they can grow. What this also does is it crowds out the bad bacteria that's not supposed to be there, the ones that are irritating and that cause problems. This helps crowd that out. So this is the prebiotic. This is reinforcing the good initial work that we're doing. Right? This is month 2, this is month 3. And then the third month is when we go through and we rebuild. So remember that gut lining I talked to you about? Well, that needs to be rebuilt. This is a mucosal layer that's built through there. So this mega mucosa actually has the amino acids that your body needs to rebuild that gut lining. And that's what really seals off that leaky gut problem. And as long as you're not continuing to insult it and keep recreating it, because we're making lifestyle changes here, we're not just treating the problem and never looking at it again, right? Part of being healthy is making the changes possible now that you understand what causes it, right? We don't just do the 90-day protocol and go back to eating McDonald's and chips and fried foods and all these things, right? Because you're just going to do it again. And then you got to go back and do the process again. If you keep things working well, you can keep this very well balanced. So that's the total gut repair. Like I said, within that 90 days, clinically proven, like they've studied it, not just, oh yeah, I felt better, but it actually shows through gut health testing where they can measure those leaky gut problems going away in that first 90 days. Pretty awesome, right? That's why this is such an amazing product. So normally this is $360. This is for all 90 days. Today, you get $50 off. Just $310. And that's 90 days. Right? Think about that. That's $100 a month. And to solve your gut health problems, how awesome would that be? To prevent autoimmune disorders and cancers and fibromyalgia and joint breakdown, all these other things, how valuable is that? Right? That's why this is amazing. I've done this a couple of times now. We've done it with my kids. We've done it with so many people. In fact, one of the most recent people that did it was my mother-in-law. She was having all kinds of problems. She has multiple health challenges, but one of the biggest ones is she had irritable bowel syndrome. Right? She would lose her bowels, like she couldn't go on trips. She couldn't leave the house without maybe sometimes bringing a diaper or these other things because she didn't know what was going to happen. It was very frustrating. And we've been talking to her forever about making changes and doing this and eating better. And finally I said, you know what, just take the total gut repair. And this is all that she did. She just did this. She's been doing it now for like 2 months. And already almost all her problems are gone. No more diarrhea issues, no more bloating when she eats. Her joint pain's going away, her energy's getting better, right? Just 2 months. How awesome is that? Right? She's like, this is amazing. The only thing she actually followed through on that we gave her to do. And it's like, it works, right? This stuff is awesome. That's why we have it. So use these things that are available. Don't put it off and like, well, next week or next month, right? Use the resources so you can actually get better. Number 3 is metabolic imbalances. So metabolic imbalances, this is when you have these things that come in, like the glyphosates and the herbicides and the pesticides, and you're not getting the right types of fibers, you're not getting the right biodiversity and balance of foods, and you're not getting those probiotic-rich foods in. So now you get these imbalances where things just aren't working properly. We already talked about glyphosate and why it's so bad, because it throws the gut off completely. So you want to look for this little sticker. Has anybody seen this at the store before? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is key. So if you're eating any kind of grain, if you're eating any kind of processed food, you always want to look for this. It should be non-GMO, always. We had a thing a few years back in California where they said, let's label everything that's genetically modified. And somehow we were convinced to vote, no, that's not a good idea. That's just going to cost more money. And let's not do that. So now you don't know. So you just got to look for this instead and know that, hey, these are the things. And if you go look it up, I'm not going to list them all. You can search online and say, what are the most common genetically modified foods? And it'll give you a list. It'll say alfalfa, it'll say wheat and grain, it'll say soy, it'll go through all the things. And like, okay, what are those things in the store and what eats those things? I want to avoid that or make sure it's this non-GMO. You also want to look for this one. Everybody seen this one? Yeah. Now this is different than just organic or all natural, right? Those don't mean anything. It's got to say this USDA organic. So USDA organic also means non-GMO. So if you're seeing this, you can also assume that it's non-GMO. At least for now, that's the rule. That could change. But for now, that's the rule. So if you see this, you can say, okay, I'm pretty well covered on this. So you got to look for this little sticker here, okay? Don't just read the label. Don't just believe what the package says or what you saw on TV or whatever else. You got to see this here. Because there's 3 million tons of pesticides in over 300 different chemicals that are approved to be used in our foods. And many of these are the ones that damage your food. And again, it's not just the food you eat. It's what the food you eat eats, right? It's so important, which is why animal products are so key. If you're eating fish or chicken or beef, you got to make sure they're naturally raised, grass-fed or wild-caught or free-range, right? Eat what they're supposed to eat. There's a reason why cows are supposed to eat grass. And when they eat grass, they're very, very healthy. They produce healthy fats, omega-3 fatty acids. The meat is full of nutrients and minerals because it comes from the grass and from the earth. But when we feed them grains, they get fat and they get sick and it causes problems. And now they need hormones and antibiotics and all these other problems because they're not eating what they're supposed to eat. Just like us. If we eat a bunch of stuff we're not supposed to eat, we get sick. And then that gets treated. Well, if you eat stuff that was sick, what do you think that's going to do to you? It's going to make you sick, right? So let's not do that. Let's get the more natural stuff. And spending a little bit of extra money on your food, I can tell you that's one of the bigger bills each month, is going to save you money on medications and doctor visits and health concerns. And it's going to give you quality of life, which everybody used to always see those MasterCard commercials, right? Where like, that's priceless, right? You can't get that back, right? Because what would anybody say who's got cancer or inflammatory bowel disease, or they're cutting out 20 feet of their colon and saying, hey, would you go and eat like more organic stuff and like grass-fed beef and go back and do that? Well, absolutely. This never happened. But then it's too late. You don't wait till it's too late to say, okay, I got to do something different. You do it now. So that way that doesn't happen. Here's the worst toxins that really damage your gut. Household cleaners. So the bleach and the 409 and all that stuff, horrible for your gut, right? You want to use natural cleaners, vinegar, all natural stuff, very available, right? You can use doTERRA stuff, you can use Norwex products. There's all kinds of stuff that can clean just as good, that have no toxins. Processed foods. We've already been talking about processed foods. So it just keeps showing up again and again and again, so we know it's bad. Cosmetics. So for you ladies especially, right, a lot of the conventional cosmetics, lotions, things you put on your hair, skin, nails, a lot of them have toxins. But there's more natural ones that you can get. More natural personal care products, more natural cleaning products. A lot of times we use environmental working group. You can look at what's natural, what's not there. And the cleaning products is relatively the same cost. In fact, sometimes it saves you because all the designer brands and stuff are extra expensive. So you can actually save money sometimes on more natural products by going through and using less conventional. So really look at your cosmetics, your deodorants, your toothpaste, your soaps, your stuff you wash your hair with, all that stuff full of toxins. So getting the non-toxic stuff. And that's why part of your packet here, the second page, has the top 22 toxins. So this is the stuff that's in the household cleaners, and it's in the foods, and it's in the cosmetics, and it's in your environment, right? It's all right there. So use this resource, take this home and start looking for this stuff, right? Start being a detective. Look at your bottles, look at your labels. Oh, what's in it? Oh man, chlorine? That's not good. My dishwasher detergent, that stuff that you open is like, whoo, comes right at you. Well, that's not good. Let's start filtering that out. Do you have a water filter that's filtering out your stuff? Do you have a house filter? What does that look like? Do you have a shower filter that's filtering this stuff out? Right? Do you have a whole house filter that filters out the stuff in the air? Right? These are all like little things you can get that really helps take the stressful burden off your body. And that's the environmental stresses, right? We have environmental stresses that are out of our control. There is toxins that are out there. Sometimes there's a fire and smoke comes in, right? Cars drive around. Those aren't going away. But if you do all this other stuff, your body's ability to deal with that stress is really good, right? If you have a bucket that fills up, these are your cells, this is your liver, this is your spleen, your digestive gut system. If 0 to 100 and you're typically hanging out around like 10 or 5, and we add 15 or 20 in there because it's a smoky day or allergy season, well, you don't notice the difference. There's a lot of people that go out, like, seems fine to me, but there's also a group of people that go out, it's like, I can't breathe, I'm in pain, my allergies are off the chart, this issue, that issue is going crazy. It's because your toxic bucket is already full. And we try to add more stuff in there and you just can't handle it. So it's just pouring over and creating problems. That's why a healthy lifestyle is good all the time. If you're just doing the feel-good stuff, you're at the top of the bucket. And it's just about ready to spill over. You don't want to live there, right? You want to be constantly emptying the bucket of stress in your body. So that way your adaptability is super good, and that's what keeps you healthy. And then there's the self-imposed ones. We all know smoking's bad. We all know drinking too much alcohol is bad, right? So always minimize those things. Smoking, try to eliminate completely. Most bad habits, if you can get rid of them, you're benefiting yourself, right? Those are things that affect your gut. That's the avoid the 22 toxins. We just went over that with you. A key component too is detoxing. So detoxing on a regular basis is good for you because there are stresses and chemicals and things that do get in. It's impossible to live a totally natural life, right? Even if you live in a hut in the forest, you're still going to get environmental toxins that come into your body. So detoxing over time is important, right? And there's ways to do this naturally. There's a lot of foods that are just naturally detoxifying, right? Mostly cruciferous vegetables and things that are actually really good. Like, who here likes garlic? I love garlic, right? It's so good. Onions, right? Maybe kale isn't everybody's favorite, but it's up on the list and good for you. A lot of greens, cauliflower can be really good. You can pretty much make anything with cauliflower. They have like cauliflower everything now. Cauliflower crust, cauliflower rice, cauliflower mashed potatoes, and it's actually really good. You just gotta learn how to make it. Cultured products, we talked about that. Fermented foods, bone broth, there it is again. Right? These are things that if you consume consistently, actually help your body detox. And you have organs that are designed to do this too. That's what your liver does. That's what your spleen does. That's what your lymphatic system does, and your gut. Like when the gut's working well, it's naturally detoxing your body. It's cleansing this stuff out. But think about if you're supposed to eliminate toxins every day, but you only go to the bathroom 2-3 times a week, well, those toxins is all sitting in there. Or a lot of like babies and kids we see coming in are so constipated they go to the bathroom like once a week, twice a month, 3 times a month, something like that. Can you imagine the toxic burden? Of course they're crying all the time, or they have mood issues, or they have neurological problems because they're just bombarded by toxins, not to mention all the other stuff we give them. So clearing this out is so key to be able to get that done. And here's the top detoxifying nutrients that you can take in. Magnesium oxide. So magnesium just keeps showing up again and again because it's so healthy for you. It's healthy for your heart, it's healthy for your muscles, it's healthy for your gut, it helps with brain chemicals. Magnesium is amazing, it helps with sleep. Chlorella. So chlorella is green liquid, pretty much. It's like what plants live off of. It's plant energy. You can actually use this and drink it. You can put chlorella in your water. It tastes okay. It's not amazing. They have like some mint flavored ones that are actually pretty good, but chlorella is a really good supplement. Superoxide dismutase, you're not going to see this a lot. Same thing with psyllium husk. It's kind of like a fiber that you can pour and you can drink. It's not amazing on its own, I'm not going to lie. But it's like a fiber type supplement. You can get the psyllium husk in if you're not getting a lot of fiber. Activated charcoal is amazing for you. Has powerful anti-aging. It's a binder, so it actually helps bind to toxins so they can get easier eliminated from your body. And then protein. So protein is amino acids, it's a building block of all the tissues in your body. So when you're getting good proteins, it helps all the tissues work properly. So healthy proteins is essential, and they can come in animal or plant form. Usually, ideally, a combination of both. I know there's different theories on that. Some people like to eat all meat, some people like to eat all plants, some people like to eat somewhere in the middle. But honestly, physiologically, how our bodies were designed, we're omnivores. We're supposed to eat both. Our body's designed to eat both. Now, you don't want to have an overdo of one or the other because that can create problems. And some people do better with more or less of others. Right? You got to figure that out for yourself. Again, I'm not here to say one is good or bad or better than the other, but a balance for most people is best. Right? Figuring out what that balance is for you is part of that health journey. Now, if you're sitting here writing all these down, like, where do I get all these? Where do I get magnesium oxide and activated charcoal and superoxide dismutase? That's a good question. And you could find them all on their own, but it'd be a little bit more difficult. It's also what's in the detox system. So the detox system has everything you need. All those nutrients I just mentioned are all in this one supplement, which is amazing. Right? So this isn't just a detox, it's a healthy improvement of your detox system. That's why it's called the detox system. It's not just called the detox product. You know, there's lots of things you can detox, but most of them don't improve the system. Doing the detox system actually improves your detox system in two parts, the cellular detox and the body detox. So the cellular detox goes in and cleanses out all the toxins from your cells. So it's actually pulling toxins out of your cells that won't typically come out on their own. Now, instead of those toxins floating around your body and some of them getting eliminated and some of them going to your brain or some of them going to another organ or into your muscles or into your fat cells, well, it actually gets binded to with the body detox. So the body detox has the activated charcoal and the magnesium and the binders. So now it's actually going to eliminate those things. So it's pulling the toxins out, it's binding and eliminating the toxins, and it's strengthening your detox systems along the way. Systems like your liver with the superoxide dismutase and the glutathione and the milk thistle, things that improve your gut health like the magnesium and the psyllium husk, right? All that stuff's all in there. And this is a 30-day system to be able to go through and help cleanse that stuff out of your body. I do this at least every 6 months minimum because that's helping empty the bucket, right? Empty that bucket. If you're someone who's under a lot of toxic stress or has a lot of problems, maybe you do for a couple of months in a row, or maybe like every 90 days instead of every 6 months. But every 6 months I feel like is about the minimum to do that because you want to keep the system strong, right? You wouldn't never change your oil until your engine blows up. Like that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? You change the oil regularly, not until it's like black crud paste. That's not when you change the engine oil. You change it when it's kind of getting a little bit bad. That's smart, and that's how you keep things working well. How often do you change your body oil? That's what a detox is. It's changing the oil, right? If you hadn't changed the oil in 5 years, how's things running? Not so good, right? Preventative maintenance is what keeps things working well. So you spend less money, you have less big problems, and you function better overall. Just like your car, right? That makes sense to a lot of people. Everyone takes care of their car if they want it to work well, and when it doesn't, they're not surprised. When the engine sees up, like, yeah, I figured that was gonna happen. We didn't change the oil, hasn't been in for a tune-up, it was just on its last leg, just let it run into the ground. But you can't just go buy another one of your body. You only get one shot, right? So you gotta take care of it for the rest of your life. Exercise is another thing that improves gut health and detoxing. When you move your body, things happen. When you move your body, it pumps fluids in your body, right? It pumps your heart, it pumps oxygen, it pumps blood, it pumps what's called cerebral spinal fluid, which cleanses your brain and hydrates all your neural tissues and the discs of your spine and your body. This doesn't happen with movement, without movement. That's why the sedentary jobs are so harmful for you. If you have a job where you sit behind a computer 6, 8, 10 hours, or you work from home at the kitchen table, right? This is sedentary, your body's not moving, and all the fluids and the flow and the process doesn't happen. So all that stuff just pools up, and that's not good, right? That's why sitting is the new smoking. Everyone talks about how bad it is for you, right? It really is, because if your body doesn't move, it doesn't do well. So you gotta move your body. It could be as simple as a walk. If you like activities, go do those. Again, there's no like best one, like, hey, you gotta do this fitness plan only, and that's the best one and the only one you need to do. You just need to move, right? So do whatever you like to do. If you like to play volleyball, go play volleyball, or pickleball, or if you like to walk with your friends, if you like to run, if you like to lift weights, if you like higher intensity stuff, right? Go do those things, but do it often and do it consistently, because that's how you're gonna see the benefits. One of the other benefits of exercise is you sweat.
Yes.
So your biggest organ in your body is your skin. And so your skin can allow things to come in, but it also allows things to go out. So if you have toxins or other things that need to get out, well, a lot of times that happens through your skin. So if you're exercising and your body temperature rises, you're gonna sweat and you're gonna push some of those toxins out. That's one of the best ways, part of our excretory system. So excretory system is sweat, it's going to the bathroom, number 1, and number 2. These are ways where your body eliminates stuff. Again, if you're not sweating, if you're not going to the bathroom as often, you're not drinking enough water, well, all that stuff's just pooling up, filling the bucket, creating sickness and disease in your body. So that's why these things are so essential. And when we talk about the 5 essentials, it's not just like 1 or 2. I see a lot of people that are usually doing pretty good in a couple of areas. Like, I eat pretty good, or I'm like really good on my fitness, or I use all clean products and we don't use any toxins, or I'm not under a ton of stress, my life's pretty chill, like I'm good at, I do my home care, I get adjusted regularly, but I don't often see people doing all 5 well consistently, right? And that's what we really work on with people all the time is, how can we improve the areas that aren't doing as well and keep the areas that are doing good, right? We don't want to be doing good here and then dump that to pull something else up. Like if you're doing really good with your nutrition, like keep it up, like keep eating well, add some more exercise in, decrease the stress a little bit, pay a little more attention to your products, make sure your spine and nervous system's healthy, get that home care into every day. And when you start to increase all the areas is when you really see the benefits, right? You're just pumping on all cylinders. That potential that's always there at 100% starts to express itself. And you notice the changes. Hey, this isn't a problem for me anymore. I'm sleeping better. I got more energy. Stuff doesn't hurt as much. I'm losing some weight, right? It becomes so much better, I can tell you that. And it's always a work in progress. No one's perfect. The next one is dysbiosis. So dysbiosis is when the gut microbiome isn't working well, right? You have more bad bacteria than good, or you don't have the good bacteria that you need. So this microbiome is really cool. It's the most important part of your entire digestive system. These are our little bacteria. These are our friends. We want a lot of these. We want to do everything we can to improve the quality of this and avoid everything we can that damages it in any way. We already went through a lot of the things that damage it. Toxic foods, toxic chemicals, medications, vaccines, stress, nerve system dysregulation from subluxation of your spine. These are all things that damage your gut microbiome. So we want to avoid all of those things because they always cause damage every single time. Now sometimes you have too much bad bacteria. This is called SIBO. Has anybody heard of this before? Probably not, unless it was something specific to you. So SIBO is when you have too much bad bacteria out of balance. This is actually more common than you think. Over 80% of people who have any kind of irritable bowel problem, like diarrhea, bloating, constipation, have a SIBO issue, but you probably don't know it unless you've specifically tested for it. Now the allopathic model, what do you think that does? If you went to your doctor and you had too much bacteria, what would they tell you to do? Antibiotics. Yes, that's absolutely right. So antibiotics will kill some of the overgrowth. But what's it going to do to all the other good stuff? It's going to kill that too. So now we took care of one problem, but created a bigger one, which is usually what the allopathic model does. It takes care of one, creates 2, 3, 4, 5 more, which is why every drug you've ever heard of has the long list of side effects, right? You've seen those commercials on TV. What does the last 10 to 20 seconds? Well, you could actually experience death and hemorrhoids and bloating and this and this and this and this and this. Like it's all side effects, right? There's an average of 70 per pill if you take one. But are most people taking one? Yep. No, they're taking 2, 3, 4, 8. They don't even know how many. Every single one interacts and not a single one was ever tested to be worked with one of the other ones. So now you're exponentially creating problems. That's why the goal is to have a natural solution. And the goal is always to restore function so you can get off those things. Now, I'm not here to tell you to stop taking your medications. I'm here to help guide you in the process of getting your body healthy to where you don't need them. It's a totally different story, right? That's what we want to focus on. So SIBO, if you have too much bad bacteria, that total gut repair process we talked about, a lot of times helps with this. But it has to be done in a different order. Because if you have too much bacteria and you add more bacteria to it right away, your body a lot of times rejects that. So people with this, when they take probiotics, will get problems, right? So if that's ever you, you're like, oh, I need to take probiotics, but you take them, and then all of a sudden you feel more bloated, or you feel like things aren't working well, your digestion gets thrown off, you have this overgrowth problem. And so you have to go and take care of that first, which is what things like the Max GI does. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll start people in that middle phase, the prebiotic, because it actually crowds out the bad bacteria and helps feed the good stuff. So you create more of that diversity, and then do the mucosa layer to repair some of the gut lining so there's not so much inflammation. And then you go back to the beginning and do the probiotics, because now the system is healthier and you can now add in the good stuff to build what's needed. So if you know you have SIBO, or you start like, hey, I did the probiotics and I felt weird, or I felt really bloated, or something happened, this is probably why. Here's what you may experience: abdominal pain and bloating and gas when you eat. Right? This is typically a common symptom of bacterial overgrowth. Chronic diarrhea, nausea after eating, a lot of reflux. These things are common, and if you already have irritable bowel issues, this is probably what's going on with you. And there's varying levels of this, but it can always be handled in a more natural way. So the biggest thing is you need the good bacteria. We need to get this back into a healthy state. We really need to balance that microbiome. And that's what the probiotics do. Probiotics are healthy for you. We want these bacteria in, and we want them in a diverse area. That's so key. So part of it's got to come from your nutrition, right? You got to eat the probiotic-rich foods. Kefir, does anybody know what kefir is? It's basically like yogurt. It's fermented milk, and again, it needs to be organic, whole-fat milk. Now, it tastes a little kind of sour, I guess, but you can put it in like a protein shake. You don't have to just pound it out of the bottle, right? I don't just drink a glass of kefir. It doesn't taste amazing. But you can put it in a lot of things, and it's really good for you. You can also do sauerkraut. Pretty much everybody's familiar with sauerkraut, right? Again, organic, right? It needs to be organic and natural, and you can put it on just about everything. Kimchi is basically the same thing, but it's with vegetables. So tempeh is going to be like soy, but you want to get the non-GMO soy. And then this yogurt. So yogurt, you always want to make sure it's always grass-fed, it's always organic, pasture-raised. Greek yogurt, I really like it. It's high in protein and low in sugar and fat. The regular whole milk has more fats in it, a little bit more sugar, not as much protein, so depending on like what you need. But you always want to get the whole grass-fed plain yogurt. You don't want, vanilla flavor. You don't want peach, strawberry, banana, cream pie flavor, right? You want just like regular old flavor, like just natural, plain, because then you got none of the junk in it, right? All you're gonna see in there is like milk, cultures, maybe like some salt or something. Like that's it. Okay? Less is more when it comes to these types of things.
Can you then add real fruits?
You can add stuff in it, yeah, of course. So if you want like a bowl of yogurt, you could throw berries in there. You could throw like the sprouted grains. You can throw whatever you want in there, right? You don't have to just eat it plain all the time. Like get creative with it. And you can make a whole meal out of using these things, but incorporating the probiotic foods in there. If you're gonna have a sandwich, throw some sauerkraut on it, or a burger, put some sauerkraut in there, right? If you're gonna have breakfast, have a dollop of yogurt in there, right? Throw some of these stuff in as much as possible. If you're gonna make a protein shake, pour some kefir in there, right? There's lots of stuff you can do, just it needs to become a habit of using it often, having those things at home, so that way you're used to using them. And the most important thing is the Spore Biotic. I mean, this is such a key supplement. It's one of the best supplements that they created. It's really what put Microbiome Labs on the map with this kind of stuff because of that spore form. And this is what really starts that replenishment. So even if you're not going to do the whole 90-day protocol, you want to at least do this one here. If you're not doing probiotic foods, if you don't take any kind of probiotics at all, this is a good place to start and at least getting this. And it's in a whole natural form, and it's one of the best ways to get it in for your body. So number five is infection. So sometimes we can get infections of the digestive system too, right? And this can create a lot of problems. These are pathogens. This can be yeast overgrowth that happens sometimes. You can, go to Mexico and drink too much of the water and you get stuff in, or you're traveling in different areas that your body's not used to, right? We're used to our local environment. If you go to a distant island or a different country or a different area, they have all kinds of stuff that your body's just not used to, and it's not really equipped to deal with. So sometimes you can get these parasites or bacteria or things in there that really aren't supposed to be there and create an infection, right? And you don't always know it's an infection, but you start to feel the issues. If it just seems weird and nothing you do seems to help it, that's probably what's going on. And again, the Total Gut Repair really helps with this because your gut microbiome naturally kills off these foreign invaders. But if your gut's not equipped to do that, it's not going to work right. And the infection's going to take over. Right? If you're put in a lot of toxic foods, a lot of sugar, carbohydrates, well, you're going to feed the yeast, and it's going to start to grow and proliferate. It's going to go crazy on you. Right? You don't got to stop and create an anti-yeast medication. You just got to stop feeding it and start crowding it out with the good stuff. So that Total Gut Repair can also really help with this. The Max GI can do this. We have some specific supplements called Mega IgG, which helps with this, which actually helps create and fight off these infections in your gut system. So there are tools and resources to do this naturally that we can help you with. The other thing that really tears down your gut, especially for infection, is stress. Mental stress. When you have too much mental stress, it down-regulates your digestive system. It actually allows the bad bacteria to proliferate. It weakens your immune system, so your ability to fight off infection is going to be less. So sometimes people, I got to tell them, you know what, you just need to be less stressed. because your stress is actually creating the problem. Mental, physical, and chemical stresses, right? If you're taking care of physical and chemical, but your mental stress is still really high, that's going to create problems. So make sure you get plenty of sleep. Make sure you incorporate things like meditation and gratitude and journaling, and you're around the right type of people. And if you're in a stressful environment, try to change the environment within your control the best possible, right? Take over that, because stress can really create a lot of problems and get overwhelming. And creating healthy stress responses and activities in your life. Be around good people. Find the right resources to get out of this stress, and don't treat the symptoms. Because a lot of times we self-medicate with stress, right? That's where the alcohol and the drugs and medications and unhealthy habits come into play to help counteract the stress. Well, that's creating another problem too. So don't treat the stress. Don't self-medicate the stress. Like, find healthy habits that reduce stress, whatever that is for you. Even things like exercise helps. And one of the best things, if you're tired of just trying stuff, going through the trial and error and guessing and doing this or that and this and that, let's look at a test. We have tests available that can actually measure these things that we talked about today. If you're wondering, well, do I have a metabolic problem or a SIBO problem or a leaky gut issue or this or that? I'm not really sure and I don't know what to do. Well, that's where testing can tell you what to do, because now we have a roadmap for cause and solution. So one of the best tests to look at the overarching system of your body is the metabolics test. So the metabolics test looks at stress on your cells, looks at your metabolic system, it looks at your digestive system, it looks at toxicity, it looks at your antioxidants. So it gets a big view of what systems are working and what systems are not. And if we know specifically the problem areas, well, we can target that with lifestyle, supplements, resources, things like that. Say, okay, well, this is the thing that's out of balance, and this is what we need to do. And once we go through that, the key is using those resources, right? Because if you take the time to do the test and go through the recommendations and buy the stuff, but you don't use it, well, you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. And sometimes it is a bit of a change. Like, well, you got to stop doing this, and start doing this, and start taking this, which may seem a little bit daunting, but isn't your health problem daunting too? Isn't the low energy and the pain and the fatigue and the not sleeping and the other issues, isn't that daunting too? Right? So when you think about it, it's hard either way. It's hard to be sick, it's hard to be in pain, it's hard to have low energy and not showing up at your best. That's hard. And that's always going to be hard if you don't do the work to fix it. Now, sometimes it's hard to change those things too. It is. You make changes, it takes time, it takes money, right? It's an investment. But if you do the hard, it becomes a lot easier. And then life becomes easier. What would your life be like if you had more energy throughout the day, right? If you're more cognitively sound? What would your life be like if you could eat whatever foods you want and not have to worry about what it felt like? Or if your joints didn't hurt, or your back or neck didn't hurt all the time? What would your life be like? How would it be different? And isn't it worth doing some extra work to be able to get there? Only you can answer that question. I hope the answer is yes, and that's the resource we talk about here today. This is a great resource to help you be able to get there. If you're looking for a more specific guide, what should I be eating? What should I be doing? What are the specifics for me? I want the details. I want a plan. That's what this is. That's the metabolics test. Normally $650 in the office. It covers the testing. We review it with you. We go through practitioners. We put together a protocol. Everything. $650. Today only, we're doing that at a discount of $599. Right? So you're saving over $50 off that, and we'll get it set up for you next time that you come in. There's also one specific to gut health. So if you're like, it's my gut that's the problem, it's the digestive system that's the problem, I know that's the issue, this Biome FX is like a microscope on your gut health, looking at everything we talked about. Good bacteria, bad bacteria, things that aren't supposed to be there, leaky gut, how you're producing the chemicals and hormones, what's being absorbed, what's not, what's working, what's not. This is one of the best tests that we have available here. And so many people have really just totally revolutionized their health by doing something like this. A recent mom came in and she tried everything. You know, like, I changed all my products, I eat all organic, I'm healthy. She looked just fine, but suffering. Digestive problems, bloating, low energy, brain fog, all kinds of stuff. Clearly pointing to a gut problem. And she'd taken probiotics and she had taken this and that and done all the stuff. And I told her, like, we need to do the testing. And we did the testing and we looked at what was going on and we found some specific issues, and we were able to target those issues with lifestyle changes and supplements. Within 2 months, totally different lady. Like, energy back, being the mom that she wants to do. She can eat whatever she wants now. No more digestive problems. No more being afraid like, well, I don't know what's in that. How am I going to feel afterwards? Right? That's not a good feeling. You're at someone's house or you're out to dinner like, I can't eat anything because I don't know how I'm going to feel or how I'm going to react. I could be in pain for the next 2 days. I could be feeling miserable. Right? That's no fun. It wasn't until we did the test and we did the protocols and she actually followed the protocol that totally changed. And now she is maintaining that and doing really, really well, right? But we never got there if we didn't do the testing first. So that's why this is so key. So this test is $550. That's also discounted today, just $499. So if gut is your issue and you know you want to take care of that, this is a good way to be able to do it. Most people, they can do that total gut repair. They can do a lot of this stuff, and it's going to clear most things up. So maybe that's the place that you start. Just go do the gut repair or do the gut health bundle and make sure you're getting those things in. If you have more questions about this, you're like, I'm not sure, what's the details, what's in it, what's it measuring, that's what this is. This is that Max Metabolics. It has an FAQ. Does everybody know how to use a QR code? They're pretty common now. You pull up your phone, it takes a picture of it, pulls up a website link. This talks all about it. Everything you need to know, how it works, but it's done specifically through our office, right? You don't just want to get the test and get the results back because you're just going to get a 30-page printout of hieroglyphics. Like you have no clue what this stuff is, right? It's like you don't know how your computer system works. You don't know how your body system works. You're just not trained to do that, but we are. And we work with people who are experts in this. So we can take that hieroglyphic document and actually interpret it for you and say, here's what you need to do, right? That's really what you're paying for, is the plan, not just the test itself. That's all written out right through here. Now we created a couple of bundles on the things that we talked about here today too. So you have that 90-day gut repair, right? That's the Megaspore for the 90 days, that's the prebiotic for 60 days, and that's the Mega Mucosa for 30 days. Right? That's that 90-day protocol. That's $50 off today, $52 actually. Killer savings, that's the biggest discount you're ever going to get on this. Definitely recommend picking that up. Also the gut health bundle. So this has the Max GI that we talked about. That's that primary digestion, if that's one of your issues. That has the detox system, and that has the daily essentials for men and for women. Right, that one's also significantly discounted, $15 off today, or 50% off today. That's just $163. Maybe that's a good place for you to start. If primary digestion is your issue, you feel indigestion, heartburn, you feel like you feel weird after you eat. That's typically what's going on here. You got leaky gut problems, bigger issues. That's the gut repair, right? You've tried those things already and didn't get the results you want. That's when the testing and other things come in too. Or you just want to start from the beginning and say, I just want to know exactly what to do. I don't want to try a bunch of stuff. Go do this. And likely what you're going to find when you do the test, almost everybody, you got to do the gut repair. You got to do this. Like, we end up doing these things anyway as part of it for like 90% of the people, but usually there's other things that go into it too that are more specific that fill in the holes of typically why you're not successful doing it otherwise. And this all ties right back to the beginning, is what actually controls this, right? If you do all the right stuff and you start taking probiotics and you do the gut repair and you start eating better, but your body's still not working right, there's still short circuits, there's still interferences in your brain, your nervous system, it's still not going to have the desired effect. And that brings back to the 5 essentials. You can't just do 2 or 3 or 1 or 4 and expect to get the best results. You got to be doing all 5. And the brain and the nervous system is the biggest part, because this is what controls the gut. And one of the things that damages the gut is nerve system dysregulation. That's the medical term for it. But the actual term is subluxation. Subluxation is when your spine is out of its alignment, not functioning properly, interfering with those nerve communication from the brain to the body. A big part of that goes to the gut. You can see here, middle back, stomach, pancreas, gallbladder. If you have a mid-back problem, if you sit all day long, if you're hunched over like this, you have interference to the nerves that are going to these organs. They will not work properly until you fix this issue. If you have a problem down here in the lower back, well, that's your whole colon, your gut system. That's that entire primary lower digestion. You got low back pain, you get sciatica, you get hip pain. Again, you sit all day, putting pressure right through here. Right? You fell off a horse 20 years ago, causing stress to these nerves. Well, you have a gut problem here. That's not going to go away with a pill or a stretch or an exercise. It has to be physically changed through chiropractic care and corrective chiropractic care, not just pop and go feel good care. holistic, corrective, preventative care, which is what we do here in our office, which is rare among chiropractic because it has a plan. It's perpetual, it's long-term, it doesn't end, it doesn't stop when you feel better. It keeps going and it changes, right? Just like you don't stop eating well, once your stomach problem goes away, you don't go back to McDonald's and candy bars every day, right? Because you're just gonna recreate the problem. If your spine gets healthier and you stop working on it and you go back to sitting all day and you're still posturally stressed and you still got old injuries that weren't fixed, well, it's just gonna recreate the same issue, right? We don't want that either. So that's why chiropractic care is a lifetime habit. That's why that's one of the 5 essentials, because it regulates your brain and nervous system. And when it's not working well, just like your gut, it creates effects. Commonly, people experience headaches, neck pain, back pain. These are the things that a lot of people think of at the chiropractor, right? Oh, I got back pain, I should go to the chiropractor because they're gonna crack my spine and it's gonna feel better. And that's true. It does help, but not because we cracked your spine, because it changed the physiology in your nervous system. And that allowed the systems to work better so the symptom itself could go away on its own. But it also regulates all these other problems, menstrual problems, high blood pressure, depression, numbness, allergies, food intolerances, sleep problems, skin issues, more digestive problems, immune system problems, dizziness, fatigue, all kinds of other stuff. Because every level of your spine regulates something different. From your autonomic system all the way down to your little pinky toe. It's all regulated right through here, right? And if this system's not working right, your body's not working right. That's why every member of your family should be getting checked and under chiropractic care. Not just the ones who are in pain, not just the ones who have the worst problems, right? Everybody, kids, mom, dad, aunts, uncles, everybody. Our kids you saw in there, they get adjusted regularly, at least every other week, whether they're having problems or not. If one of them's sick or falls or has an injury, why? I check and adjust them more often because then they need it. And then they go back to regular just checkups on a regular basis. I get adjusted at least once a week because I'm under a lot of stress, physically, emotionally, all these other areas. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 times a week, but it's never less than 1. Even on weeks I feel great, I still get adjusted at least once because I know I do that to keep things working well because I don't want to deal with the issues when it's not. That's why this is so key. And that's why we're a family office, right? We have a lot of families that come in. You see kids roaming around. You see older people. You see people in all walks of life, and they're not all coming in because they got debilitating back pain. They're coming in initially typically because they have a problem, but they stay because they understand the value to their health in preventing problems on a regular basis. And those are the patients I really love working with. And we saw patients from 10 years ago, and 9, and 8, and 7 years ago that are still coming in and getting adjusted and are living as good or better quality of life than they were 10 years ago. Right? Isn't that cool? When everybody else in society, according to the research, is rapidly declining, our people are actually getting better, or at least maintaining that same level over the years, which is better than everybody else, at a fraction of the cost. That's the coolest part. Research shows that when you use chiropractic as your primary health resource, you save 70% of medical spending, which is an average of $8,000 to $9,000 per person per family. So you're saving tens of thousands of dollars by taking care of your health this way. Pretty cool, right? That's why we still love what we do. So the first step is take care of your chiropractic. Now, many of you are already chiropractic patients. You're already coming in, you're already seeing the benefits of that, right? If you're not where you want to be, continue your chiropractic care at the same level or better. Add these other essentials into a higher level because there's still things that you're missing. But if you still don't, you're here and you don't have a chiropractor, you're not receiving chiropractic care, you're not a patient in our office, now's your opportunity, and that's the first thing you want to do, is schedule your new patient evaluation. So we can actually look at your nervous system, we can specifically look at your spine, take an x-ray, we can find out which areas are working, which areas are not, and we can get your body back to its ideal state. That's the key. That's that first thing that you do. So schedule your appointment before you go today, right? You have on here, the next page talks about that. It says, if your family is not currently in the office, here's where you want to put their information. And we set aside times this week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, for your family. Or you that's sitting here right now that's not a current patient in the office. Or that's not currently under chiropractic care, corrective chiropractic care, which is a minimum at least every other week. Anything less than that is pain relief care at best. So you want to make sure you have an x-ray, you have a plan, you're consistently checking on that, and you're following that plan to get the best results. All right, so some of you are new faces in here. I see you guys. So make sure you stop by the front desk before you go, and we'll get that appointment scheduled for you to come in this week to get that evaluation. Normally that's $199. And if you went to any doctor, any place, just to get x-rays, you're gonna pay 3, 4, 5 times that. Here, today for being here, our gift to you is that's just $40. Covers your exam, your x-rays, everything in that first appointment when you sign up and be able to do that today. So make sure you do that first, or a family member. If you're still trying to get your husband or your wife, or you still haven't gotten your kids in, today's the day to do it.